Okay, as promised, we're going to do the notes today as a video. The substitute should have this available. So either that or you found it on Schoology. We're going to try and go through this quickly, and we're going to do this with two separate videos. At a certain point, I'm going to have a stop. The substitute will hand out a sheet of paper. You're going to do some work, and then afterwards we'll come back and finish the lesson. So let's get started. Well, here's what I'd like you to do. Do problems 1 through 4 based on what we did yesterday. Before I let you get to this, you're going to GCF if possible. Like number 1 and number 2, you're going to GCF pretty much only. Then 3 and 4, you're also going to try to do some grouping. So notice it's a polynomial with 4 terms. You're going to GCF the first 2, you're going to GCF the second 2, and if we're lucky, you're going to see some commonalities, sort of like number 2. So we're going to pause the video right here. You're going to do the 4 problems, and then the substitute's going to hit play. We're going to see what those answers are. Okay, so it's been a little bit of time. Hopefully you had enough time to get a look at this. Let's check these out. So number 1, you're supposed to GCF 5x squared, and you'll get that remaining binomial left in there. Now when you GCF, you should still have a binomial left inside if you started with a binomial. Now let's look at number 2. Number 2, sorry for this, you're going to GCF x minus 1 out of both of those. You'll have 3x minus 2 left. And then number 3 and 4, let's zoom in here. I'm sorry if it's making you dizzy. We're going to GCF or factor by grouping. So you're going to take 3x squared out of the first 2. You're going to take a negative 1. Remember, we want a positive coefficient in the front. Out of the second half. And then there's that common space in there. So your final answer is going to be 3x squared minus 1 times x plus 2. And then the last one, you're going to GCF first. So you might have forgotten to do that. Then you're going to factor by grouping with these two. And then your final answer is going to be 2x times x squared plus 3 times x minus 4. Now it's possible to factor by grouping without GCFing first. It's just, if you notice it, if you look at your factors, let's say the first part's different but you have x minus 4, it's quite possible that one of those 2 binomials, you could take a 2x out of it, and that sort of is the fully factored form. So what you need to do is sort of remember that as we're moving forward. So I did a little teaser yesterday about the x factor, which is what it's represented here, and we did this a couple times just to show you, and it seemed like some of you sort of got it, and you were sort of getting into it. The idea is 2 numbers need to multiply to get the top and add up to the bottom, and it's sort of a puzzle. So there's a way you can do this to sort of use it as scratch paper. You can just start with like 1 times 24. If it doesn't add up to 11, you try again. 2 times 12 is 24, but does not add up to 11. 3 times 8, however, does add up to 11. Those are your 2 numbers. So go ahead and try number 2. If the sub hasn't paused yet, pause it now, get about 30 seconds, see if you can come up with 2 numbers. Maybe you guys can talk in class about it, and I'll reveal the answer after you unpause or after this. So the key is, it's negative on the bottom, but it's positive on the top. So it has to be 2 numbers that multiply to get positive number, but adds up to a negative. The only way that's going to work is if you have like a negative 15 and a negative 2. Well, that adds up to negative 17. That's not going to work. How about negative 5, negative 6? I'm just trying random things. Hey, that does add up to negative 11. Those are 2 numbers that multiply to get positive 30, but add up to negative 11. Those are my numbers that I need. So scrolling down, what I want you to do is I want you to try 3, 4, and 5. If the substitute could please pause it for about a minute or so, see how many your table can get, maybe cross-check with each other, see if you can get all 3 of these right. This is related to what the little group quiz is going to be today. So let's see if you guys can do this together and check your work before you have to do it for that sheet of paper. All right, so here's the answers. 4 and negative 3 multiply to get negative 12 and add up to 1. Negative 5 times 3 is positive 15, and that is the wrong answer because they both need to be positive or they both need to be negative. So let's try again. 2 negative numbers is what I'm going to need. Is this even possible? I don't know that it is. How can you come up with 2 numbers that multiply to get positive 15 but only add up to negative 2? This is going to be one of those prime situations. So you're not going to be able to do number 4. Whereas number 5, negative 12, negative 5 multiplies to get positive 60, but adds to negative 17. So that's the idea. So we're going to use this to split the middle, and it'll make more sense after the video is over and we go on to the next half of this. So before we get there, we're going to do a pause at this point. We're going to stop the video. We're going to have a part 2 to this after we have our activity. The substitute's going to hand out a worksheet. It is a bunch of these X factor problems. Your goal is to get as many as a team correct as you can. When you're done, turn it in. And let's set a time limit on this. Let's set it to 10 minutes max. If you're done after 10 minutes, just wait and sit tight. And after 10 minutes, time will be up for your groups. We'll collect it and we'll move on to part B on this video.